Story time about how this girl and her boyfriend beat me up. So a little background information, I was in 11th grade and I was 17 years old. And in the summer, my friend and I went to go and watch fireworks for the 4th of July at this park. And most of the people there went to a completely different school. But we ended up meeting this group of guys and I was really vibing with the one guy who was there. He was super cute, super chill, and we got along great. And I just want to put this out there, I did not think to ask that he had a girlfriend because he was being super flirtatious and just really wasn't acting like he had a girlfriend. I literally just hate how we have to ask people if they're in relationships now because they don't want to be honest or loyal. And then we look like the bad guys because they were dishonest. Anyway, so him and I start to hang out a lot and he really likes me, I really like him. And we went to this football game at his school and we ended up doing the nasty. After that, I'm in the bleachers with my friends and one of my friends tells me, yeah, he has a girlfriend. So she couldn't have told me this before we did the nasty. Anyways, like for part 2. Part 2 about how this guy and his girlfriend literally beat me up. So like I said, him and I did the nasty at the football game and then I go onto the bleachers with my friends and she tells me that he has a girlfriend. But I'm not gonna lie, at this point we had already been talking for 2 months and I really didn't care because I liked him and I wasn't just gonna turn my feelings off. First of all, I do not owe that girl any loyalty. Number 2, we were already intimate with each other, so I don't know what could make this situation worse than it already was. I mean, I did confront him about it and he told me that he was going to break up with her for me. So I believed him. I was like, whatever, I'm just going to wait for him to break it off with her and I'm still going to talk to him. So eventually he literally made me wait for like 2 more months. So what did I do? I told his girlfriend everything. I'm not gonna lie, it's not even that I wanted to be a good person. It was literally just to spite him. It's like, yeah, your man wants to be with me. He don't want you. This is the text messages of him telling me that he was going to break up with you. That day he called me and he was like, hey, do you want to hang out? And I was shocked that he did not bring up anything that I said to his girlfriend. Like for part 3. Part 3 about how this girl and her boyfriend literally beat me up. So like I said, I told his girlfriend everything about how he didn't want her. I sent her the receipts and everything. And then she has the audacity to tell me I'm disgusting, I'm this, I'm that, saying that I'm gross for even doing anything with him. I should have known that he had a girlfriend. I should have told him off. Like, sis, your man did not mention you once. He didn't even mention you as an ex-girlfriend, so put the blame on him, not me. So later that day, he invites me over, and I am shook because I at least thought that he was going to bring it up and be like, why did you text my girlfriend? So I thought that maybe she was one of those girls where she's like, OMG, my man is never wrong. I'm not even going to confront him because I don't want him to break up with me, and it just wasn't his fault. So fast forward, I get to his house. I usually just walk in because I've been over there so many times. Well, as soon as I walk in the door, him and his girlfriend start wailing on me. I ended up with a few broken ribs, but I also ended up pregnant with his child. His family thinks that he should be with me since I'm having his kid. She decided to stay with him, so she comes to every prenatal appointment. Story time about why my sister is probably worse than yours.
I fought my mom because her boyfriend was touching me in my sleep and she defended him. I was 16 when this happened. I'm 20 years old now. He was touching me, she knew about it, and she didn't do anything. Yes, they're still together till this day, and no, I do not talk to either of them. Let's get into it. So my mom had just recently divorced my dad, and so she got a new boyfriend. His name was Daryl. Now let me tell you, I was not rocking with Daryl from jump because he was always a little too touchy. If I sat down next to him, he'd squeeze my knee, would sneak up behind me and rub my shoulder. And when he would hug me, his hands would go a little too far down my back. Whenever he would come over, I'd just stay in my room. But one night, it was like damn near midnight. Mind you, I'm asleep because I don't play by my sleep. I wake up suddenly because I had a feeling somebody was in my room. So I turn on my lamp that's on the side of my bed. When I turn around, I see Daryl in my room with his back turned towards me, trying to sneak out of my room. But not only was he trying to sneak out of my room, he had my panties in his hands. So I look under my covers and sure enough, my panties are gone. Part 2 gets even worse. This is part 2 of when I fought my mom because her boyfriend was touching me in my sleep and she defended him. So I suddenly woke up in the middle of the night to see him trying to sneak out of my room with my panties in his hands. Instant tears started flooding my eyes because I knew what he had done. And I knew that if I told anyone, no one would believe me. Because like I said, I didn't like him from jump because he was always too touchy. And I told my mom how I felt that way and she told me that I need to start wearing less revealing clothes. But back to what I was saying. Once that motherfucking low life ass piece of shit notices that I woke up, he runs out of the room and then I hear him leave through the front door. So I quickly get dressed so I could go tell my mom what happened because I didn't know what else to do. I wake her up and go, Ma, Daryl just touched me in my sleep. He says, girl, stop making up these little fantasies in your head and go back to sleep. And so I told her, no, I woke up in the middle of him trying to leave my room with my panties in his hands, and once he noticed that I saw him, he left through the front door. Then she gets mad at me and starts yelling at me and says, and I quote, I don't need you running men out my house. That's crazy because my dad was her 5th husband. Daryl was about to be her 6th. If anybody was running men out this house, it was her. I'm tired of her BS at this point. She's yelling all up in my face face, and so I shove her. This is where it gets crazy. Part 3 of the time I fought my mom because her boyfriend touched me in my sleep and she defended him. So I woke up my mom to tell her that her boyfriend had just touched me in my sleep. And she gets mad at me and starts yelling and screaming at me. With the amount of shit that she put me through, she had no right. So I'm sick of her BS at this point, and so I shove her. I had never put my hands on my mama before this. My mama deserved to get her ass whooped. How toxic she was. If she wasn't my mama, if she was just some other regular bitch, I probably would have already threw hands with her like 10 times. So now we're on the floor of her bedroom, scrapping it out. And no, I did not show her no mercy. Obviously, I went and whooped her ass because 16 years of being mistreated. Come on, at this point, I had a heart of steel and hands of steel. She's screaming and she's yelling and she's talking about, I'm gonna call the police on you. I was like, call them. After I tell them what happened, they're gonna be on the look for your boyfriend. She tells me to get my stuff and get out. I said, say less, so I start packing. I texted a close friend who I had already told about Daryl being a creep, and they came to get me. I lived with that friend for 2 years until I turned 18 and moved into my own place. I have an amazing boyfriend who understands my trauma and takes everything slow with me. I no longer have contact with Daryl or my mom, and now I only see them through social media posts. This is a
Story time about how my aunt kidnapped my dog. So a little background information, I was 14 and in 8th grade. I had a 4-month-old puppy that I would take care of because since I wanted the dog, my parents were like, you have to take care of him, blah, 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 blah. So put him in the crate, went to school, came home, thought everything was good, until my dog is missing. So now I'm like, what the fuck? Because it's literally a 4-month-old puppy. Anyways, I searched around the house to see if he maybe escaped or he was hiding under the beds or something, but he was nowhere to be found. So I asked the neighbors to keep a lookout for him and even put up missing posters everywhere. And when my parents got home, I told them the situation and they were like, oh, honey, he probably ran away, but he'll probably be back tonight. Yeah, fast forward 5 hours, he still wasn't home. So my dad was like, go to sleep. He'll be back in the morning. So I went to sleep, or I tried, but then I couldn't sleep, so I got up and got some melatonin. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how my aunt kidnapped my dog. So like I said, my dad was like, go to sleep, and I went to try to go to sleep, but I couldn't because my dog was freaking missing. So I go downstairs to get some melatonin when I hear my dad talking shit on the phone to my aunt. He was talking about something with the dog, but my dumbass starts walking across the floor and all of a sudden the floor creaks, so I run upstairs, get back into bed, and go to sleep. So the next day after school, I tell my dad I'm going to go to my aunt's house because she didn't live too far away, and I thought, okay, well, maybe she's seen him run around her neighborhood, whatever. And he was like super off about it at first, but he was like, fine, whatever, go to your aunt's house. So I get to her house and I walk in and I hear dogs barking. One dog, because she didn't have any fucking dogs. And I walk over to the backyard, and what do you know, my puppy is sitting in her fucking backyard. So I brought my dog home and told my dad. And he got really mad. It turns out he didn't even want the dog in the first place, so he gave her to my aunt. He apologized and we're good now, but story time about how my